Welcome back to SL Chennai Speaks Out. Is there enough in the budget for the middle class? That's our proposition today. Yes, sir.
See, I tend to agree with Dr. Jairam in one thing in terms of rationalization of taxation. There is all the more attraction to comply with tax laws. I wouldn't say that. I would agree with Venkatesh and Srinivas in terms of being government not being friendly. I would think the government is very friendly. The rates of taxation have really fallen. I think ours is one of the lowest.
You feel that way when you file your returns every year?
Absolutely. In fact, I have paid the highest rate taxation about 7 years back also.
Okay, pass the mic to the gentleman.
As the slab rates have been increased, but 80cc limits haven't been touched.
1 lakh, yeah, that's an interesting point because there's no help to those who have the potential to invest. Why couldn't 1 lakh be, that could have been increased to 2.5 lakh? That was a demand actually.
I agree. I'm not denying the fact about whether incentive for investments into infrastructure bonds or Kisan Vikas Patrika that could be increased or not is a question here. But remember, yes, I agree. But some of the most important provision for investment is that your return on investments from mutual funds or stocks is tax-free, even today. And if your long-term investment is there, I think that's a very important provision you should not forget, which has happened over the period of time. Now, let's understand what were the tax structures 20, 25 years back on investment. It was throttled. Investments were throttled. Now, freeing up means what? That is your investments, long-term gains tax have become zero. Short-term gains taxes are about 10-15%, which is affordable for the amount of short-term gains that you have. And that is the key thing. Why would you want to increase the basic 1 lakh, 1.5 lakhs when the tax slabs are coming down, the rates are coming down, the slabs are going up? The real point, if you want to boost investments, look at the investment climate. Today, I think more middle class is investing in mutual funds and stocks than ever before. And that's a very important point.
That's a result. Big risk as well.
Yes, I agree. But that is a climate which is fostered by government. Now, without risk, nobody is going to gain. No. If you want 30%, 40% returns on stocks and mutual funds and say, I don't want to take the risk, government should, I think that's not fair.
I would like to add the additional 20,000 that's been provided for infrastructure bonds is already available. Yes. So therefore, 1 lakh actually has become 1.2 lakhs for those who want to invest.
Well, that was something that got reinstated 4 years ago. Fair we had that. But I want to make one point.
But however, I feel the 20,000 is very paltry sum. It should be another lakh.
Precisely. What is 20,000 these days? But let me, for a minute, to take your point. Let's, for a minute, we're all, you're all youngsters there. You all have aspirations to pass out and then do a first-time home buy.
Yeah, here also, it's youngsters here also.
But do you qualify to be a first-time home buyer, for example? You don't, right? So they do.
Wow.
Now, think about it. Service tax, right? They have taken, they have widened their net. They have got a lot more services coming into this, this widening, what do you call it? But what's the implication that first-time home buyers would have? They're going to pay 10% more. So what, there's already a 34%, 66% can be defrayed, 34% if you start paying upfront, before you take possession of the house, but then you're going to be absolutely saddled with another 10%. That's a sticker shock to my mind.
For the NREGA scheme, can you throw light on the implementation of NREGA? I mean, 40,100 crores have been allocated over there, and there is not much of, probably I would say there's not much of result which I would see.
There are loopholes.
Let me answer that question.
You open a pit and put that money,
it will grow. I think, let me put it this way. The question is very relevant, and that's a very important question. Let us talk about the context of NREG and so on. Now, let me put the context back to Keynes' idea of growth. He said famously, you dig hole and put money there, it will grow. And when he said that, he didn't really mean it literally, but he rather said it from the standpoint of view of how to infuse multiplier effect giving public works. Today, if you see, I have evidence from at least Chennai today, Tamil Nadu today completely, that almost there is no village and there is no person who has not been touched by a microfinance credit from self-help group. There is nobody from today, for example, from Bihar or Jharkhand who has not been touched by an NREG scheme. The point I want to make here is that government is doing enough. Now, if there is a middleman issue here, if there is a mafia issue here which is cutting all those benefits away, let us not blame the roads for all the accidents. I want to be very clear. It is not the budget that is to be blamed. It's not the policy that is to be blamed.
Fair enough.
But the people.
Point again, I like
No, 1 minute.
One important point here.
Sanjay, look at it.
I have a different
No,
viewpoint.
I have absolute. 1 minute, 1 minute. Just let me tell you. India ranks 133 in the ease of
Development
doing
index.
business index. 133. You are next with Rwanda, Buanda, Kuanda. On human development index, you rank 132. Again with all the sub-Saharan African countries. Within 30 years, Japan transformed itself after World War II into a super economic giant. 60 years later, with all the resources that we have, we are what we are today. And for this,
So we are endeavoring to go towards a double-digit growth figure.
all these things, Sanjay, can be done in 20 years.
And the reason for that is people like my friends on the other side
Yes.
who are unable to appreciate the progress initiated or
appreciate.
spearheaded
I
by
appreciate.
government.
Yes.
I
Let me
appreciate.
Bring
make one
spoilers
Tell
to
me
India.
20
Yeah,
years
yes.
later what will be the destination?
Yeah, young man there, young
I
man there.
appreciate
We are
that.
missing a very important point here.
Yeah, yes.
I want to make one point. I want to make
One
one
second,
point.
let them yeah.
Sir, actually,
Yeah,
we are
yes,
missing
yes.
a very
Let them-
important
We
point
are
here.
trying to shoot the messenger instead of the
So
message.
let the senior citizen, yes, the senior citizen.
In all other countries, German, France, Japan, population is limited, whereas India has a staggering population of 115 crores. So anything that the government wants to do in the first 5-year plan is totally undone by the increase in numbers.
All right,
I
yes.
can counter that, sir. 1 second. I can counter that by
seen
saying
as a boon.
that I can counter that by saying the minister has gone on record by saying that China is much ahead of us, and before China, before 1978, India was ahead of China in terms of Jawaharlal Nehru's 5-year growth plan, and those plans were fantastic. There were no complaints about it. But the fact is that population is one issue. But what is our total national level expenditure? We're talking about 11 trillion rupee expenditure, right? For every 100 rupee that the government spends, the asset that is being created is less than 14 rupees.
6% is the total capital assets.
So-
6% is the capital
so
assets.
that ratio is far higher in other countries. But the more appropriate question is that where is the rest of the money going? I think the rest of the money is because we have a very large bureaucracy. We have got too many government employees, 6th pay commission.
Coming to the basic commodities, the food items inflation is being changing drastically. How will a common man survive?
Exactly. It's a
That
good
is a
question.
question.
It's a good
Money
question.
on
But let me
But they won't have an
let me set
That
a
is a
context.
question.
Let me set a
You
context.
should ask us. We have an answer.
Let me set a
Let them give us a
context.
good answer.
And
They won't answer.
I would, without quoting all those umbrella excise duty rates, I will give you a simple
Obsessed
math.
with umbrellas.
Very, very
Look at
simple math on that. Let us look at this. If I even consider 15,000 to 20,000 rupees as an average monthly salary of a common man, let me put it this way, could be lower, it could be higher, I'm not denying that, because we also adjust expenditure according to our incomes. For a 20,000 rupee monthly income, most homes spend about 7 to 8,000, and this is all published figures. I'm not cooking them out. 7 to 8,000 rupees on monthly expenditure, which includes two kinds. One is groceries, food, and other things, and then monthly other issues like rentals, medical, and other aspects. Now, out of 8,000, we are talking about food inflation on about 2 to 3,000 rupees worth, and let us say it has gone up in a year by 15%. I'm still talking about 150 rupees to 200 rupees dent on that.
So sugar prices have tripled, potato prices doubled.
Yes.
Edible oils, pulses, fruits are varying from 20 to 40% more.
Yes.
What happens to the home budget? That was a question.
I agree, but
Again,
your
I'm coming back to
proportion,
what your wife
the
goes through.
Yeah, my proportion of monthly expenditure on groceries is so insignificant compared to your monthly income. I want to make this point. Yes, it is
How many of
true.
you agree with that?
Grocery.
How many of you
I'm
agree
talking
with
about
How many of you
grocery.
don't agree with that?
I don't agree with it.
The point I'd like to counter the point is how much of this inflation is because of the budget. We are discussing the budget, please. Inflation can also happen because of supply-related issues.
Now that is the point. The point is fuel is going to be the most important input in agriculture, and that's going to
Fuel has been subsidized for so many years.
Be that
Please
as it
see
may.
that also.
Be that as it may, but there was no need for the government to take this money out from your hands, that is around 30,000 crores, and spend it on something nonsensical, because the money that goes into the government is like a dark hole. It doesn't come back. It's spent on absolutely useless things.
Which nonsense
Yeah,
are
which
you
is 20
referring to?
kilometers road is useless.
No.
Yeah,
If you want to,
you just now said 20
that is only
kilometers of road.
announcement.
What
That
is
is
it?
only announcement.
I can see highways where you don't see it. I can see good roads. You don't see that.
My God.
I see good public transport system. MRTS in Delhi.
Okay.
MRTS in Chennai is going to come. You
Okay.
don't see that. I see good cars.
No.
I will coming from.
1 minute. No, 1 minute. You talked about roads. I will answer about roads. Against the target of awarding projects. They are not talking about laying roads. Please understand. Awarding projects.
Because the roads have already been laid, mind you, gentlemen. That's the problem. That is the problem. So you have to talk about what roads that have not been laid.
No.
Please see. Did you ever take a trip from Madras to Bangalore on a national highway?
I have gone.
Have you done that?
You're going to reduce that by 100 kilometers now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In another 5 years.
5 years. What China does this as railways, we are talking about. Please let me complete. Against the target of awarding project, we are not talking about completing. For a length of about 9,800 kilometers in NHDP 2009-2010, projects of 1,285 have been awarded. For just awarding this project, you are taken 10 months. What type of efficiency are we talking about?
But are we talking about that, or are we talking about what we were 20 years back and what we are talking now?
It is glacial.
No, you may question. See, you may question the pace
I
of the growth.
I won't really come back to this gentleman's question.
No, her question was valid.
I run my household on the basis of the rising prices.
Absolutely.
I would tend to agree
At
with
the end
you,
of the
sir.
day, you find
had a
that
very
your income levels have definitely increased
Yes.
over the last decade. You find that cash available in one's hands is much more than what
But
it
Anita,
was
there's a
over the
salary
last 10
freeze
years.
now. There's a salary freeze and then there's inflation.
You're
So you're
looking
stuck.
at a one-time event. You're looking at a one-time event which
Yes.
is going to sort itself out shortly. And we are not looking at...
2007 onwards, we are running 8 to 9% officially at wholesale level. Anita, correct yourself. At retail level, we are 15 to 16%.
No, it's about
I'm
salary
perfectly
freeze.
aware.
It's
I'm
about salary
perfectly
freeze.
aware of
You're
what
saying
I'm
that
saying.
is temporary.
I'm saying that the freeze on salaries
for
that is there
one-
now is not something that
3
is going to be
rupees,
permanent.
3 rupees per
It is
litre-
going to sort
3
itself out.
rupees on petrol rice
We are not
translates into
disputing the
30
fact
rupees
that
of
there is an increase in
auto rice.
prices
Yes,
all around.
exactly.
Yes, that's
I'm
a senior citizen, yes.
saying two things.
Yes.
Just two things,
All right.
just to counter that. One is that the amount of cash that one has today is probably not enough to meet the increased levels of
Less disposable
things around
income.
us. Less disposable income, but definitely measures are being taken to counter it. And we are discussing the macro issue of, is this a budget? Over the years, are we looking at budgets that are helping the cause of the middle class, or is it doing something to halt their progress? We should keep to the macro level without going into nitpicking.
Nearly 80% of the people in India are below the poverty line.
Sir, I would...
Does the budget address their concerns? Does the budget help them, sir?
But that's what I'm about to say. They are affected by this 18-19% of food inflation.
Why is that so much hype given only for agriculturist and salaried class? Like I at times wonder, should I go for farming rather than my MBA?
What do you feel? What do you feel?
I mean, why are we like totally ignoring all these pawn walas, rickshaw walas? They are also a part of India. Like why we are not like giving the, I mean.
How many of you become entrepreneurs? How many of you seek corporate jobs? After you pass out of your, how many of you? Show of hands. Show of hands. How many of you seek corporate jobs? Is that your answer?
Mostly, yeah.
All right, on that note, time to slide into another short break on SL. Chennai Speaks Out. When we come back, we'll talk about the medical costs and whether there's enough in the budget for healthcare.